The shift happened. You did the work and you changed. But you're still checking over your shoulder, softening your edges, and waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to show up as who you already are. That's not humility, it's a habit. And that habit belongs to a version of you that no longer exists. Welcome to Daily Power Boost. I'm Sean Michael. This isn't a podcast about pushing harder or fixing yourself. It's a space to see clearly how your experience is actually being created. Each episode offers a simple shift in understanding, not a tactic, not a hustle, a clearer view of thought, identity, and the patterns you've been living inside. Because when misunderstanding drops, relief rises, energy returns. You move forward with calm, sovereign clarity. This is your daily power boost. When did you last have a clear thought, answer, or a read on a room and pause, just a half a beat, to check whether it was okay to say it? It wasn't that you were wrong. You knew you weren't. But some part of you still ran it through a filter, checked the temperature, waited for a signal from outside that never came. That pause, that's what we're talking about today. Season 8 opens here, not with a declaration, with a pattern. The first thing that shows up after a real identity shift isn't a crisis or a celebration. It's this: the gap between who you've become and how you're still behaving. We're going to name it because that gap doesn't close on its own. It just gets more expensive to ignore. There's a specific version of this I see in people who have genuinely done the work. I don't mean people who are still avoiding it. The people who have actually moved, had the insight, felt the shift. Something real changed in how they see themselves. Then they walk into a room or a call, maybe into a conversation with someone who knew them before, and they dial it back, soften their voice, add a qualifier. They leave room for the other person to disagree with something that doesn't actually need a rebuttal. If you ask them why, they're not going to say, "because I'm afraid." They might say, "I just wanted to read the room," or "I didn't want to come across as arrogant." The one that sounds the most reasonable, "I'm still figuring this out." These aren't reasons. They're the old identity translating the new one back into a language it can manage. The pattern is this: you've changed at the level of belief, but the behavior is still running the old contract, the one you signed before you knew what you were signing. Still checking for permission, waiting for external confirmation that the internal shift was real. I know this because I've lived the specific version of it where the work is clear and the behavior doesn't follow. I had a point maybe a year into coaching where something genuinely cracked open for me around how I'd been leading. I saw it cleanly. A coaching conversation, the moment it landed, and the days after where I thought differently. Then I got on a call with someone who'd known me for years, and I heard myself default to the same hedged, over-explained version of myself I'd always been with them. It wasn't that I believed it, it's because they expected it, and some part of me decided their expectation was more important than my own shift. That's the gap we're naming. You saw yourself in that. I know you did. Here's what this means at the identity level. You haven't given yourself the authority to be the person you've already become. The shift was real, but your self-concept hasn't been updated in the rooms that matter most. Until it is, you'll keep waiting for a permission that was yours the moment the shift happened. When the gap starts to close, it doesn't feel like confidence. Not at first. It's quieter than that. It's that moment you say what you actually think without a qualifier at the end. And you notice you're not monitoring how it landed. You said it and meant it. You've moved on. It's not that you stopped caring. It's that caring is no longer about approval. Instead, it's about accuracy. You stop translating yourself for people who knew the old version. Not that you owe them less. You realize continuing to shrink doesn't serve them either. They don't need the old you. They need whoever you actually are now. The cost of crossing this threshold, it's real. Some people preferred the version of you that needed their signal. You've had relationships that were built on you being the one who checked in, softened, and then waited. And when you stop, the dynamic shifts. It's not a sign you're wrong. That's the new ground confirming it's real. One question to carry with you today. Where are you still performing the old version of yourself for an audience that would actually respect the new one? If this landed and you recognize that pause, that half beat before you said what you actually thought, I want to offer you something specific. The no-cost identity clarity call is where we trace that pattern back. We're not looking to analyze it endlessly, to locate it, so you can stop outsourcing permission that you already have. The link is in the show notes. Tomorrow, we go one layer deeper, because naming the gap, that's the beginning. But there's something underneath the checking, something still pulling, and it knows exactly when to show up. We're going to call it out by name. The shift was real. Claim the ground it earned you. With strength and heart, I'm Sean Michael. Stay close. Thanks for tuning in to Daily Power Boost. Ignite your potential. Remember, transformation starts with action. So take today's insight, make it your own, and awaken your inner potential. Because remember, greatness begins within. Catch you tomorrow for your next Power Boost.